very simple person, okay? And I like to explain things very simply, and I like people to explain things simply to me. Now, in terms of planning, we all have an idea of what planning is. Planning in the business sense, obviously, in many, many situations, we all have to do a marketing plan, a sales plan, a strategic plan, etc. Plan, plan, plan. There's an awful lot of time devoted to planning, and sometimes you can ask yourself, is it really worth it? The amount of time it takes with basically what the results might be. I mean, you can do a marketing plan and 1 month later, the marketing plan is probably out of date because a new competitor has come into the market or your product has failed in terms of its trials, if they're clinical trials in the pharmaceutical industry or consumer trials or whatever. So, you know, your planning should be done, obviously. You need to do a plan. But sometimes you shouldn't take it too seriously because things can change. That's what the market is, never changing place. So when I talk about planning, I'm keeping it simple. Planning, there are lots of books about planning. There are lots of gurus. They've got all kinds of terminology, a lot of jargon. I just go back to the very basics of planning, which is 4-5 steps, really. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? What resources do I need? And if things change, what contingencies should I try to build into my plan? Now, from that planning point of view, where am I now? You need to build into the whole planning process another aspect of marketing, which people probably think I'm a bit crazy when I say this, but do a personal SWOT analysis. Have you ever done a personal SWOT analysis? Maybe not, maybe yes. I have, and many of the people I've tried to advise have done a SWOT analysis on themselves. But you'll be amazed the number of people have never even thought of it. They think it's a crazy idea, but when you get down to it, it's not a crazy idea as such. Because when you look at the SWOT analysis, or as you say in Spanish anyway, DAFO, two of the aspects there are your weaknesses and your strengths. And that kind of question, it's an old-fashioned question, usually comes out in traditional interviews. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Now, do you know them? Are you aware of them? Some people try and not answer the question about weaknesses and just concentrate on strengths. But you need to look at all aspects. So you need to look at the 4 elements of a SWOT analysis as well in terms of your planning to make sure that you try to know yourself a bit better. Don't be afraid to have weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes with those weaknesses, try to present them in a way that they become neutral or maybe slightly positive, but definitely not a long list of negative aspects about you. And in terms of the opportunities in the market, look at the opportunities that exist, do your market research, and then think about the threats. Who are the threats? The threats are the other X number of thousands of people who are also in the market, in the same market sector that you want to get into or that you're in, who are fighting for the job that you want as well. Because the other thing when people go for an interview, they sometimes think that they're the only person, when we know that for every job application, you can have at least 500 people in times of crisis. If you, in the old days, put an advertisement in the newspaper, which these days we don't tend to do. I remember one case, we got 2,500 applications in Nexus. You know, that's giving an idea of the dimension of the problems. These days, there are still lots and lots of applications, lots of people we contact, etc., because there are some very attractive jobs, and obviously there is a list of young people, very talented people, who can benefit from working in a company and actually giving something to that company to make it a better and stronger company, whilst fulfilling their own objectives. So in terms of planning, what can planning do for you? Well, obviously it can do something for you in terms of recognizing yourself, acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses, thinking about the opportunities, but basically making you perform an exercise as to where you want to go, what you want to do, and how you're going to get there. The 3 simple steps in planning. As I said, there are lots of gurus, there are lots of books written about planning, but just following those 3 or 4 simple steps, you'll go a much longer way than if you didn't do any plan at all. So that's how you can build the planning into it.